I became a dad at the age of 15 years old. As soon as I got that news, some sort of crazy responsibility kicked in. A lot of people sort of ask me, oh, James, you've worked with like the likes of Gordon Ramsay and some really tough chefs and aggressive kitchens. For me, that was easy. Comparing to telling your parents to their eyes, they're going to have a grandchild.
On this episode, James tells us how he got into cooking, the struggles he faced to become an elite chef, and he also tells us why food is memories.
In any industry or in anything to do with life, you have to put in the work and you have to put in the discipline and you have to turn up when you don't want to and all of this kind of stuff, and you have to sacrifice a lot of things, and you don't know at that time if you're going to see a goal. It's super uncertain. So it's like the Olympics. When you're there and you've won that gold medal, do you still see the journey you had 20 years before getting that gold medal?
You probably do, but the people don't.
Right.
From your perspective, what is the high performance mindset?
The high performance mindset is always...
James Knight Pacheco is a Michelin-awarded chef, named one of the 50 most influential people in F&B in Middle East and Africa. He's worked alongside icons such as Gordon Ramsay and Raymond Blanc. He's been featured on BBC culinary shows and has his own show, the Chef JKP podcast. Alright, before we kick off with today's episode, if you can do me the small favor and subscribe to this channel, I'll truly appreciate it and help me bring you more and more high performance to this show. This is the high performance mindset, and today's guest is James Knight Pacheco. Enjoy this episode. So James, your parents are from two different continents.
Yes.
Who's from Venezuela and who's from England?
So my mum is from Venezuela and my dad is British.
Right.
Yeah, so I have the mix.
I wanted to ask you, what do you feel are the similar traits or characteristics between them?
Oh, that's a great question. Similar traits.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what? This is going to sound really weird, but they both have a certain sort of passion, or what can I put it, like thirst for life. You know, because my mum, she's Latina, obviously, but she's very I would say studious. So she's the more kind of one who would. She's a doctor of law. You know, and a teacher. So she did law in the early parts of her life.
But she also bakes.
And she also bakes, exactly. So she was a teacher and still teaching, as I was telling you. She's Italian and so on and so forth, and she loves to cook. But she has a real sort of thrive for life, and she loves to serve and be hospitable. And my dad was more kind of the people person, loves to make people laugh and all of that kind of stuff. So they really have that in common. Even though my dad is British, he was, I would say, the life and soul of the party. He was one of those guys, so always wanted to make sure everybody was smiling, laughing. The worst sort of dad jokes, if you like, at the worst possible times. So even if he was in hospital or something, and he didn't know anyone or any nurses or anything, especially, he would always say like, oh, yeah, she's flirting with me again. She's trying to take my robe off. So he was more that kind of guy. But yeah, so they're very similar in that respect.
Well, I would say probably that's also sort of like the British humor.
Yeah. Very, very dry.
Banter.
Exactly, yeah.
I wanted to know, comparing to your aspiration as a child, comparing to as a teenager. Were they different? Were they the same?
No, it was very different. So when I was a child, I really wanted to become a fireman. I wanted to be in the fire brigade and I wanted to help people. So that was my thing, and I was obsessed. Hisham, I have to tell you. So from the age of like 4 to around, 12, I had my heart set on being a fireman. I didn't know how. To the point that I had to do a project one day, and this was so imagine this dream of being a fireman started off in Venezuela in South America.
I wonder what exposed you to that.
I have no idea. To then in the UK, I was set on becoming a fireman, and then I had to do a project, and it was about, being in the fire brigade. So I actually went to my local fire brigade, took old school photos. I was immersed, and I spent probably 2 weeks with those guys. But by the end of it, they were like, "Oh, would you like to do a test with the BA?" And the BA is the breathing apparatus. So they kitted me up with the whole thing, and I suffer from asthma.
Okay. So
And they were like, "Yeah, James is really good, but you can't be in the fire brigade because you have asthma." And that was like, man, it broke my heart. Like, really, it was tough. Because I was like, "What do you mean?" And they were like, "Well, because of the breathing apparatus and you're carrying things, there's no way."
I have a feeling that probably fed off to your.
Yeah, so that was like, okay.
Makes
So I had
sense.
to reset, So then I got really into music, so it changed, and then I ended up studying music, and I loved percussion or anything to do with drums, piano and guitar. So I really studied that first. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to become a fireman, fine. So but that was accidental. That music journey, it was completely accidental.
Why would you say that?
It was because nobody pushed me to do that. That was when I was sort of becoming a bit more of a teenager, and I was getting into bands.
Are your parents into music?
They're into music in the terms of that they loved music, and my dad he's more of the one who sort of really loved LPs and stuff like that. And
Records.
yeah, exactly. So he was into all of that. But the funny thing is that because I was in the British high schools, I'm an outsider. So I would get bullied a lot, right? Because I'm not British, and you're not from this sort of area. So that was full on. So
I can relate.
what happened is that music was an escape, and as soon as I started sort of playing drums and playing guitars and being in bands,
Now you're the cool guy.
now you're the cool guy. So it completely changed so I was like, well, and then that's how the journey started with music, really.
So how old were you?
I would say probably, again, sort of 12, 13 when I was getting over my fire brigade, heartbreak, to then really pushing myself and understanding, well, I need to start to read music. It's not just good playing. I have to learn the notes and read and study and all of that kind of stuff. So, So I thrived on the percussion because it was like an outlet for energy, I would say.
But I'm sure now, or later on, music played a role especially as a restaurant manager, as a chef.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I still adore anything to do with music. And when people ask me, there's two questions that I hate in life. And the first one is, you're a chef. So what's your favorite thing to cook? That's number one. Number two, or what's your favorite music, or what's your favorite band? Because there's no such thing as a favorite. I think it's all about the mood.
The mood.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I could be like into hip hop, like hardcore hip hop 1 minute. The next minute I could be into reggae. And next minute it could be classical. Do you know? It's the same thing with food. It depends on my mood. 1 minute I could have Korean. Next minute I'll have Omani. Then I could have. It's all about that. So for me, there's not like
playing the right track at the wrong time.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
When
you're trying to have like a romantic meal, it's not going to work if you've got 50 Cent in the background.
Many men.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to set the mood, and that's the thing is, I really love music because I love where it can take you, and it's the same thing for me as having a meal. When you have a first date, you could almost remember the music that was in the background, or when you have a food memory. It's for me, it's all of this is connected. That's why I really love music, and that's why I really love food, because I think you can learn a lot from people, whether it's from music or whether it's from food. Breaking
Absolutely.
bread with someone, I think, is really special and magical. It's an amazing way to share cultures.
So where does cooking come in the picture? Like,
So basically, as I was growing up, and let's say teenage sort of time, I would say from the age of sort of 15 to 18, to make money, in the UK, you can have what they call part-time jobs. So you're only working, let's say, over the weekend or a few hours here and there. And for me, it was easy just to work in restaurants because
So you did not start cooking at home.
No.
Okay.
I was interested in what my mum was doing. So when my mum sort of had a break from law, she actually decided to open like a wedding cake business. And so I would help her decorate when I could. And it sort of, I was always...
Was it out of your interest that you got involved, or did she...
Oh no, I wanted to. It was always me. The funny thing is that, again, if I go back to my childhood in Venezuela, everything is about family and entertainment. So I always remember anything around a table was about happiness. And again, sharing meals and stories and laughter. So I would go from that and thinking, okay, if I help my mum, it's going to help someone. And also, you're building somebody's wedding cake. So it's part of memories and things like this.
Very special occasion.
Yeah. So I was also just watching and understanding. And sometimes she would allow me to bake when I was even like 11, 12 years old. And sometimes I would have to make like a carrot cake 3-4 times just for her to try it. And I don't know how she had the patience. Even though I had like a few sisters, it was interesting that she just allowed me to do it. So that was always in the background. But then when I got to full-time part-time education or part-time work, again, being in the environment of hospitality, seeing people happy, serving them, being in the inner kitchens, that kind of stuff, it was really cool for me. But I never thought it was going to be a full-time
You didn't
job.
get into it with the idea that I'll become a chef.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all.
It was just a means.
Yeah,
to
a means to
make
an end,
some
and I was
extra
like,
money.
okay, yeah, it's cool. And then,
But it was you working somehow in something that you have interest in.
yeah, absolutely. I did have interest in entertaining people and all of that kind of stuff. And obviously, at the time, I was thinking money, because it was quick money, cash in hand. So after you finish your shift,
And you sort of had some skill in that area.
I slowly started. It wasn't straight away. I slowly started to.
No, but
to
you
gain
were
the
kind of
skills.
familiar in the kitchen.
Absolutely, yeah.
To a certain extent.
I was familiar in the kitchen, and I was familiar in the front of house. In the beginning,
Front of house.
Front of house is more restaurant.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. So I was more familiar with the restaurant side of things. And then one day, the chef was like, "Oh, would you like to come in? And I need some help." And then I asked the manager, and she was like, "Yeah, you can go in and help." And then I was like, "Whoa, yeah, this place is cool," And I got hooked into the kitchen because I was like holding knives, and all of that kind of stuff. And the chefs were kind of like rock and roll,
Okay.
the stars, So I was like, this is actually quite cool, and I got hooked, But then I was also studying music, and I was also studying in a college of music at the time. I wasn't the brightest student by far. There were people who were much better than I was. But I was like, this is really cool. And then I had to make a decision what to do. And I had no idea. And my dad was the one who was like, look, being a musician is great, but it doesn't guarantee you work. And he was an electrical sort of engineer guy, good with his hands. And he said, if you have a trade, so something with your hands, you'll always have a job. If you become a chef, you'll always be able to travel the world. And don't forget, everybody needs to eat. So I was like, I didn't really think about it. And I wanted to disagree with him, but I couldn't. It was facts. Everybody needs to eat.
It's true.
So then again, another reset. Went back to college, start again, 3 years of study. And I wanted to do hospitality management.
So you were already like few years in with music.
I was already in, yeah. I already had, I think, 18 months because I was studying in high school. And then I went into college already like, this is what I'm going to major in. It's going to be music.
You know, I'm not a parent, but I would usually parents would want you to finish what you start before you start saying what other interests you have. But here your dad was advising you to drop this, start fresh.
Yeah.
But of course he knows this is something that you do maybe have a talent in, or maybe better prospects in terms of future, more secured.
Look, what's really interesting is that during that crossover period, I was also in 3 different bands. So I was into music heavily, you know, and
you must have been good, because for you to play in multiple bands,
I loved it.
then you're in demand.
Yeah, but I genuinely loved it. You know, I wanted to be in that environment. I wanted to perform. I wanted to go to the nightclubs and the gigs and set up and all of that kind of stuff. So I was all in. But I don't know how, or they came to the conversation, but they agreed. They were like, "No, you can do, if you really want to do this, go ahead," because I think they understood.
No, but your dad actually, did you tell him that I'm considering to drop music? And
well, because I was working, I was working in kitchens and all that kind of stuff, and again, I've never spoken about this, but it was a really strange time. I was in 3 bands, playing the scene. I was also working and studying, and somehow we got to this conversation, and I think he could see that music wasn't going to be the path because it wasn't secure. And what I mean by that is that session musicians don't get much work. So you could be working for 2 months on a project and then nothing for 6 months. You know what I mean? So he could see that. Whereas if you work in a kitchen or in a restaurant, you're supposedly always going to have work, and you can travel the world and all of this kind of stuff because, again, everybody needs to eat. So he could see that path.
I mean, I would, from my perspective, you have better opportunities, you know, in the culinary world. Maybe it's less in the limelight.
Yes.
You know, you're not.
Yeah, it was completely that.
You know, you won't be the big rock star, maybe, unless you really reach far.
Sure. But that's only 0.1% of everybody, right?
Exactly. But where, as a chef, maybe you will not be as famous, but you'll probably be earning worth, I don't know, 10 artists combined.
Yeah.
Artists are like, they look cool from the outside, but they broke in their real life.
Well, that's the thing, right? You know, and you know, I don't know how. Honestly, I have no idea how he saw this and how my parents they really sort of spoke about it, but they were like, "No, do you know what? Start again, but this time, really go for it," because it was again 3 years. I'd already been studying for 18 months. To then drop another 3 years.
Was that one of the toughest decisions to make? Because you are dropping something you love.
I think it was the realization was difficult.
That you have to depart.
Yes.
Now this,
because look, I'd already spent something like $7,000 worth of drum kit gear, professional equipment, cases. I mean, and I had a very serious drum kit and all of that. So I had that, and then again invest in brand new knives. And my dad didn't want me to just have some rubbish knives. He was like, and he got me the best. He got me this set called Globals, and at the time they were like the best Japanese knives, which I still have to this day. And then don't forget, by that time I'm in fact just turned 18, and I'm going in a classroom of 16-year-olds. I have experience in kitchens. I have experience in life a little bit more. I've been in nightclubs and all this kind of thing. So to then be in that classroom environment and I'm not very, I don't really like to study. And the first year was about studying hospitality. But for me, I was like kitchen, kitchen, kitchen. And every time I was in the kitchen, my instructors were like, "Oh, so you have some skills, with knives," because they would show you the basic cuts. So you have to do the basic French cuts. And they were like, "Okay, we're just going to do slowly, chuck, chuck." And I was like, They were like, "James, you have to not do, you have to stop. You have to not do that. You have to be with the team." So I was like, "Okay, yeah, fine." But you're 18, so you're like, you have a point to prove. But it was super
But
challenging.
clearly, one of the things you learned from your dad is quality. Because if he would invest in expensive knives,
Yeah, I mean, look, again, we weren't the richest, sort of well-off families, by no means least, but he always wanted to provide. And I saw hard work, not just from my dad, also from my mum. They're very, very hardworking people. And I didn't want to let them down. That was the thing, and my family is this. So my mum, dad, then there's me. I'm the oldest boy.
okay,
And I've got 4 younger sisters. So the pressure is look after them, protect them, all of that kind of stuff. So the pressure was there from the beginning, to make sure that I was doing well from the off. And I don't think it mattered which industry. I just needed to excel.
and no messing around.
Yeah.
That's the old school way.
Yeah, it was very old school, but do you know what? I don't regret it. I think it was important. It taught me a lot of things, and I think it
Looking
was
back,
interesting.
like how would you describe you learned discipline from your parents?
Well, look, a couple of key things happened during my teenage years, I would say. So number one, sort of a year and a bit after we moved to England, my parents went through a divorce, and that was super duper tough. And I idolized my parents still, really idolized them. So my dad was fun, but he was more strict, and then my mum was the more caring one, but she could also, if she needed to kick ass, she would, But then because my teenage times were quite turbulent, and my dad wasn't always around because obviously things were happening, I became a dad at the age of 15 years old. So
How did you?
So that was again challenging, I would say, to say the least. Yes.
You remember at least that after a year or two you start cooling down, but that first year, what were your thoughts?
Man, that's a really good question. I think, what's funny is that as soon as I got that news, some sort of crazy responsibility kicked in. And I think, and I'm not trying to generalize here, but I think a lot of men and young men, teenage boys at that time, if they were told that news, I think most of them would have ran away and not taken that responsibility. But then for some reason, I decided to take it full on and take it very seriously. Probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me, because it shaped the way I am as a man, the way I hold responsibility, the way I respect people, the way I see things. But it was a very, very tough time. I'm not going to lie to you. It was very tough. I think that a lot of people sort of ask me, "Oh, James, you've worked with like the likes of Gordon Ramsay and some really tough chefs and aggressive kitchens." For me, that was easy. Comparing to telling your parents to their eyes, that they're going to be grandkids. They're going to have a grandchild. Do you know what I mean? Like telling them to their face.
At 15.
And it was like, and I was 14 when it happened. And I was 15 when my daughter was born. And the fear that I had before telling them, it took me, I think it was like 2.5 to 3 hours once I got them in the room to try and get it out.
Yeah.
It was tough. But my mum was like, she was obviously in deep shock. My dad, he was laughing in the beginning. I was like, laughing. And I don't know if he laughed because he was nervous or what. I have no idea. But yeah.
But he's like, men will be men, you know,
Yeah,
boys will be boys.
yeah,
And
yeah.
hey,
So
mess around and, you
yeah.
know, you're bound to,
yeah.
you know.
But again, I wanted to prove that I could take the responsibility, and again, it was I'd already in my head, I was like, well, I'm a failure. I've let them down.
You know, you had an extra chip on your back to prove.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other than the firemen.
Yeah, exactly that drama. But look, I would, Hisham, I don't think I would change it, because the life lessons that have come along with all of these things,
you can't buy them.
Yeah,
you can't.
You know, and would I change it? I would not.
It's like saying you can't pay another guy to do your push-ups or press-ups for you.
Right. So yeah.
Hey, you didn't turn out to.
Yeah,
not
I did. Yeah, I think I did okay. But you know, I'm still very hard on myself because I always want to push myself. So I'm one of those guys who is never happy with anything that I.
That question came to my mind actually, while I was preparing. And what keeps you hungry and wanting to achieve more? And who inspires you to stay hungry and achieve more?
You know, I think the who inspires me is of course my family. That's a big one. But I also wanted to prove to the little 5-year-old James that you know you can do this. It's okay. You know, I should have been protected. My childhood was taken away, I think, at a very, very young age in that respect. Both from learning, from sort of seeing my parents divorce and seeing, unfortunately, how those fights came about, to then, of course, a few years later becoming a dad. So I wanted to protect that James. And for me, I don't know, I'm the type of guy, unfortunately, if you came to me and you needed advice, I would drop everything and I will listen to you and I will give you the best advice possible, genuinely. But I'm completely the opposite with myself. With my literally anything that I've achieved is never good enough. But I can give you the list of things, and I'm not a show-off person at all. I don't like.
I don't get that.
I really don't. I'm not that sort of guy who is like, yeah, look at me, No. I try to be as humble as possible, and because that's really important. But if I give you the list of things that I've achieved, I am still like, no, it's not good enough. You need to push yourself. You know, you could have done better. Like, so the self-talk
is harsh.
But to anyone who needs help or advice, like, I'm all in.
I struggle with that as well with myself. My self-talk is harsh.
But I think it's because of people who are, as you know, high performance. I think they're all like that. I think everyone in that space. And if you look at the most elite people in the world, they're all like that, you know. And so I think it's a common trait, unfortunately. But again, I think you look at the people who are who are single-minded, who are laser-focused in what they do and they want to achieve, they do it.
But I think I'm a little bit better right now, and I try to consciously change the tone of the internal dialect to being more of how are you going to be advising your best friend.
And is that through the conversations that you have here? As in, like, because you've had so many amazing people on the show.
I know. I think I've seen it in one of probably I read it in a book or watched a clip to do with personal development, and it had to do with be the nice person you are to others, where you're still motivating, you're still inspiring them, you know, and they do get inspired and they do perform, and you didn't use the stick.
Right.
But with you, you're this big old buffalo whipping it.
Right. Why?
So,
why? It's very tough, I think.
Yeah, and you can't wait for anyone else to come and be that for you, you know? You can't, and you need to choose to be that.
Yeah.
But of course the silver lining is you know, to throw some cold water
of course, yeah.
on yourself
all the time.
Whenever you're slacking.
All the time.
But it depends where you are in the spectrum.
Absolutely.
Easier said than done, but at least that's what I'm more before I wasn't convinced that this is possible.
Okay.
Now I'm more
conscious.
Yeah, I'm more conscious,
Right.
Because I don't think it's healthy.
Yeah. Well, no, but it's not. You're right. It's,
you know, and when it's constantly inside, eventually it spills out.
Yeah.
And then you're like, but I don't even feel like treating this person this way. Quite the opposite. You know, why did it come out like this? Because this is how you would treat yourself, you know, but you don't see it, how harsh it is, until you put it on someone else.
Yeah.
Especially with someone, you know, that you love.
Exactly. And I think that's the toughest part, is that you sort of do those things, unfortunately, to the people who are closest to you. Especially when things, as you said, they bubble up and then they spill over. It can be very tough.
I think there's a beautiful transition to mental health. How did you get into mental health?
Look, it wasn't. It was completely by accident, I would say. Again, working in a lot of, I would say, high performance or Formula One kitchens. Especially when I was in them, there was no such thing as mental health. It was basically, I always describe it, and people must be sick and tired of me saying this, but I always describe it as hungry lions. You know, you're all in a big, big cage and you're just trying to get to the top. And people would do anything and everything to get to the top, right? So in kitchens, there was a lot of sabotage, and I would say there was politics, but dirty physical politics, I would say. And there was no room for mental health, right? So if you were in a kitchen and you didn't walk out within sort of 6 months, then you know you were in a very strong place. And I'd often see people who would have big kitchens. And when I'm saying big kitchens, you're talking about 30 to 50 people, especially at the very, very top places. And it was very common during service. So service is the time when the guests are in and everything is going crazy in the kitchens, right? So when I'm talking about service is when the chef is shouting and all of this kind of stuff. So it's very common that you'd be during service, everything was going wild. The chef on the pass, so the guy who's talking the tickets and I need this and I need that kind of thing, would be extremely aggressive, like, where is this? Because obviously it's time pressure. Right. People are paying a huge amount of money to be there. There's a lot of expectation. And for some reason, either this guy or girl would be like, oh, I'm just going to get some bread, or I'm going to go to the bathroom. And you'd be like, yeah, okay, quick, just make sure you come back. 10, 15 minutes later, where are they? And then they've disappeared because the pressure's too much. So they just walked out of the job or ran away. You know? So back then you'd be like, okay, great, another one bites the dust. I'm climbing the ladder. And back then it was about getting to the top. But if you think about it, that environment was extremely unhealthy.
I think I've never worked in any kitchen, but just looking from the outside, I think it's one of the most intense industries or organizations to be in. Most competitive, and it could be most toxic.
Yes. Especially when you're at the top level, because people just want to perform the very best. And there's this show on TV called The Bear. I'm not sure if you've seen it, and it's exactly this. It's exactly what you're talking about. It's about toxic environments and all of this kind of stuff. And look, so I lived with that for 20 years. And it was in here, so it was kept deep. Along with everything else that went on in my life. And I never spoke about it. So, and the only way I can sort of describe it, there was a very famous incident that I also talk about when I did a TED talk on this specific subject. The story was that you have a supervisor called a chef de partie, so we call them a CDP. That's like supervisor level, and commis is sort of the most junior.
Okay.
Right, so commis. So this chef de partie was berating all day this commis chef, all day, for no reason, by the way, just for the sake of picking, all day, and this had been going on for months. It wasn't like a one-day thing. Anyway, long story short, very calmly, the commis gets a beef tomato. So a beef tomato is like the size of your fist. So they're big tomatoes. Sticks it in the microwave. And at the time I'm like, oh, this is weird. He's like, is it like a new technique? Is he making tomato sauce? Is this like a quick cheat? Sticks it in the microwave at the hottest temperature possible, which for about 2.5 minutes. Takes it out, right? And very calmly walks over to the chef de partie, the CDP, and then smashes this red hot tomato in the guy's face. So at the time we were like, yeah, it was funny because this guy, this chef de partie, was a supervisor.
You had it coming.
But the point is that you have something called I talk about the Vesuvius effect, which is basically all of these feelings and all of this trauma and everything that you have built up, and you keep it inside until,
like a volcano.
Yeah,
it erupts.
Exactly, the smallest thing all of a sudden makes you erupt, and then you do something that you're like,
this wasn't worth it,
right? But by then it's too late, because
that already scarred,
and you don't know if that could have been somebody you love. That you don't know.
True.
Do you see what I mean?
True.
And whether it comes through hurting somebody vocally, or it could have been physically, like this chef.
A lot of times vocally.
Yeah.
Just choice.
Exactly. In choice of words, but that stays with you. So during 2020, again, a very traumatic period globally for the world, right?
A lot of reflections.
Yes,
happened there.
But the thing is that as you know, and the public knows, chefs are not HR people. Let's say, right?
Fairly said.
But a lot of the restaurants and hotels, we're told, okay, listen, you have to tell your team that they are fired. They're being let go of. And us chefs, we build a team. So we know everybody's backstory. We know how much they're sending home. We know about their kids. We know, and so to tell them this again to their face, to say, listen, and even, it doesn't matter if you say, I'm sorry, I don't know what I can do. It's still tough. And imagine, Hisham, you're telling somebody, but you're saying the same story 30, 40 times. You're saying, I'm really sorry. So after a while,
Even with
it gets
yourself,
to you, and you're keeping it in here. So a lot of the very senior level executive chefs, or what we call culinary directors, it was a very tough time because also they didn't know who to speak to. So we formed something called the Dubai Chefs Collective. Myself, a friend of mine called Shane Bourne, and a few others who were in the scene. And we decided to sort of have a small group, and none of us are psychologists, by the way, qualified or anything like this. But we just wanted to make a group that was about supporting each other, whether it was through giving CVs or being able to just have a chat about what's going on. So somebody who knew what was going on from the industry perspective. It started off with about 8 people. It's now 110.
Wow.
There's no money in what we do. So we literally, we don't take any money from anybody. It's not a business or anything like this. It's pure support network. So it could be suppliers.
That's beautiful.
It could be like a guy, I'm missing this, or I need this. So you'd be surprised. We really support each other.
And what are the some of the success stories that came out of it?
Well, look, again, the success stories is that a lot of these guys and girls who were suffering with mental health, they now know that there's a place of support.
Have a safe space.
Exactly. And I think that for us is the biggest key. Yes, we can help you with getting CVs or help you to get a job or find supplies. But I think if it helps with the mental health part of it,
Yeah.
and they know that there is a safe space.
Because the biggest help is actually before the mental,
Right.
breakdown.
Right.
That's where it should be, not after.
Correct.
The person is already.
And as you said, you have these toxic environments and pressure, and it builds. And we're taught to, just take it on the chin. It's fine. Don't talk about it. It's service. After service, let's go for a beer or whatever. It's fine. Forget about it.
And you kept
And you
taking,
just keep it.
just to continue going up.
Right.
You're like,
Right. And you don't have a coach. You don't have somebody who is like, okay, this is, But I have to say, what's great is that the industry is changing. These traits, this toxicity is still around, but things are changing. Slowly but surely. Slowly but surely, things are changing. The hours are not as intense as they used to be. So again, when you're working 18, 20 hours a day.
everybody is a horrible boss.
Yeah, right.
Deprive me of sleep, for like how many weeks in a row.
Right.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Stay away.
Right. But again, I genuinely love hospitality. I genuinely love the region here, because I think the hospitality is second to none. I came here in 2012, and it was one of the best decisions of my life. I would never change it. The people that I've met, and from all walks of life, the cultures, the religions, learning from people's backgrounds, the foods, I would never change it, man. It's a magical place for me, honestly.
If I were to ask you your success, would it be due to your talent or to your mindset?
Whoa. Mindset.
Mindset.
I think.
I would say talent is loud. It's out there for everyone to see.
Sure.
Discipline is silent. No one can see it. You will not see it in one day. Only after a long time, it will start making itself visible.
Yeah. And I'm very much of that
So
way,
in your
way of
career,
thinking.
how did discipline play out?
Look, I think earlier on I wasn't disciplined in my career at all. But what helped me in life, which was quite funny, I studied, again, as a hobby, martial arts. when I was super, super young. So it started off with karate, then Thai boxing, and then mixed martial arts. And again, you get to know people. It was really nice, and you study this sort of thing. And my sister Jocelyn, she also studied with me, and she always said something which sticks to me even now, which is about, look, don't let your actions are not about, you know, or your successes are not about people's words or what you say. It's about what you do, you know. And in that respect, and I think this is for anyone in life, you always have people who are big mouth. You know, I did this and I did that and that and that. And then you get the people who are disciplined and they show up and they go through life silently, but you can see that they're what we call pushing on. They're gaining because they are disciplined. And it's not about, oh, I'm passionate. No. And that's another word in the kitchens that everyone uses. Oh, yeah, I'm passionate. It's my passion. Great. But when you're having to wake up at 6 a.m. and you know that you have 12 hours, 18 hours in the kitchen and all of these sorts of things.
The passion will be whipped out of you.
Correct. So you do it because, you know, you want to get somewhere, right? Yeah. And I think it's like any discipline. You have to put in the work and you have to put in the discipline and you have to turn up when you don't want to and all of this kind of stuff. And you have to sacrifice a lot of things. And you don't know at that time if you're going to see a goal. It's super uncertain, right? So it's like the Olympics, you know. When you're there and you've won that gold medal, do you still see the journey you had 20 years before getting that gold medal?
You probably do, but the people don't.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But no, I think talent is amazing. Don't get me wrong. And there are some amazing people in the world who have got that talent. But I think for me, it's honestly, as what you said, it's that discipline is super important.
I think
super important.
On an elite level of any industry, everybody's talented. But the ones who reached there are the ones who had talent plus the right mindset to be able to be disciplined.
Yeah, because also the thing is that I think just showing up when no one else is looking is really important. And no one's pushing you, you know, or saying, come on, you got to get up, you got to, like, it's that sort of self-talk.
I think this brings me, I heard you in one of your clips, you said that when you're hiring, you look at 4 things. You look at enthusiasm, you look at wanting to work hard, wanting to have fun in the kitchen. I'm trying to think, what's the 4th? Attitude.
The can do. Yeah. No, look, I think, and again, I'm going to throw it back again to the kitchen. When you're working with people for more than 10 hours a day, I can teach you the techniques and I can teach you everything you want, right? But if you don't have the attitude to want to learn, to want to be there, to show up, and you're not a sort of great person, it's going to be very difficult for us to work together. Because you're going to be like my extended family. I will see you more than I see my own family. So what's the point? You know, and we say that very strongly to anyone who joins the industry, because it's not an easy one to join. If you really want to be here, then you have to give it your all. We will give you knowledge. We will give you everything you require to succeed in life. And you will be able to literally work anywhere in the world with any chef in any kitchen. But you have to be committed. And that means showing up. And that means that if I'm firm with you, it's not personal, it's professional, you know? Because, again, the other thing that I always say to people is that James as James outside of the kitchen, I'm the nicest guy imaginable, right? I will do anything. Again, I'll do anything for you and all of that kind of thing. But the minute we're in service and people are paying a very serious amount of money and things go wrong, then I'm going to be firm. And I'm going to tell you straight to your face, this is what went wrong. But I'm talking to your position. I'm not talking to you as Hisham outside of the kitchen when we're like, having a party or whatever, or having a nice coffee.
What this position entails and what comes with this role.
Correct. But the thing is, Hisham, I am super direct during the interview process. So you already know all of this before you even join. So then you make the choice.
It's up to you.
And at the same time, what we also offer anyone wanting to come into these sort of elite level kitchens, come and work with us for 4 or 5 hours. Just to see whether you will fit in, because it's also you're interviewing us. Let's not forget.
Yeah.
Right? So you might love the environment, you might hate the environment, but at least we've had an open and honest dialogue.
Or it could be, this is not for me.
Right. And if it's not for you, then all good. We're like, okay, well, thank you so much. And the very best of luck with whatever you decide. But for me, it's really important that we have that conversation. And I'm telling you, Hisham, I've had some great interviews and I've had some horrid interviews because of that. Saying to people very straight, what about if then immediately I'm like, this is not going to be for you. But which is okay. But if you want to be at the level that you want to succeed at, then and I've seen it, people really, they dig deep and they love to work in that environment because they know that it's growth. And it's not because of anything else. And it's not bought. They're growing in their career.
I think you have to, in any industry, if you want to be one of the elite performers, you have to be willing to give more than you can tangibly, get rewarded with.
And I think the other thing is that, in this industry in particular, because I wanted it so bad earlier on, I would go to work 5 days a week. And on my days off, I would go to work in other elite kitchens for free. But I would do it because I was willing to sacrifice my days off because I wanted to learn from the best. I'm not saying this is for everybody, but I wanted to really be the very best. And the only way to do that was to have more knowledge above and beyond everybody else. Because it's one thing reading a book and it's one thing watching videos, but it's another doing the thing, right? So I could watch Arnold Schwarzenegger train in the gym all day long on YouTube. Wow. But it's not going to get me his physique. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, you can watch him, see him for 6 hours, and then you go 1 hour in and you're like,
yeah,
I think I'm done for today.
Right.
No, buddy, we still have 5 more hours
Exactly.
to go.
Exactly. So I think it's like that with anything.
And that's where it starts.
Yeah.
That's the whole, talent aside. And yes, that's where it starts.
But that's the discipline, and I don't think many people see that. Do you know why? Because it's not glamorous. The discipline is not glamorous.
I watched the clip, and I've watched the whole Last Dance of Michael Jordan.
All right, yeah.
And
Incredible.
Like
one
really,
of my favorite
thank you,
documentaries.
Yeah, thank you Netflix for this
Yeah.
one. Like really,
Gold.
for the director.
Amazing.
He took his time, but when he did it, it was up to his level. So Michael Jordan was saying he will never, because they always say that he's hard on his team and he's harsh on his team. But his response is, I never asked my team to do anything that I wasn't already doing.
Yep.
And you'll see this with any other, whether with Ronaldo, whether with Kobe Bryant, even with Messi, who people like throwing the word talented, right? They all say that we don't know any other player who, it's not about working harder, who comes close to their work ethic. So how can we give these guys, a claim that, yeah, these guys are the most talented?
Right.
What if any of the other members put in that same work for the same amount of decades? Maybe one of them would be a more talented one. But you'll never hear, I think, someone at the top would say, oh, no, this guy is MJ type of talent.
Yeah.
No, they all would say MJ's insane work ethic. Kobe Bryant, insane work ethic. Cristiano.
But that's the thing, right? It's the work ethic. Is that?
Yeah, which is not cool.
No, it's not cool. But you don't see it.
It's only sacrifice.
You
That's
don't see
all
it.
it is.
Right.
Yes.
It is only sacrifice, and it's again. I was listening to another show and it was a gentleman called Stephen Hendry, who was the all-time snooker champion, and he was literally saying, so his marriage went off the rails, but he's a 7-time world snooker champion, right? Because he was completely selfish and single-minded. He said nothing came first. It was only me being on that snooker table 7 hours a day, practicing only, to then. And he had a career for, I think, 25 years or something crazy like this, and regarded as one of the best. But again, it's not for everybody to be at that level.
Yeah, and I don't want to glamorize wanting just to be the best. I think it's very important for you to be clear on the sacrifices.
Right. Of course.
And probably would be better if you, because of your awareness, you avoid disappointing yourself in the future.
Yeah.
You become a champion and then your whole family is apart. No one is there to celebrate with you. Was it worth it?
Right.
Yeah. I understand it was your dream since you were a child and you've invested so much. And it's easier at that point to continue pushing than to pull back and sacrifice, maybe leaving that to have a better relationship with your family members. And that's another level of, for me, like of high performance or elite mindset. That's even harder, knowing when to pull the plug, when to stop, when to adjust.
Ooh.
Yeah,
it's scary though, because you're right. There's
and no one will understand. You are the only one who is going to live with that.
Yeah,
that's it.
And also, and when you do live with that, do you then regret the decision, or do you live with it, or do you say, well, it was the right decision or the wrong? It's a very difficult road to navigate.
I've seen both. I really respect those who are always proud of the good decisions they made. They don't go back. If I had stayed, I would have been a champion. If I would have done blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Look, you already said you sacrificed this to have a better relationship, let's say, with your wife or with your kids or whatever. Why are we going back to that?
Yeah.
I don't like that kind of talk.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Whether, if any of my friends would catch it, I would like them to cut me off, But I'm not with that, no.
But it's always about moving forward.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. I did it for good reason.
Yeah.
Nobody put a gun to my head.
Right.
So?
Yeah. No, I agree.
So, James, from your perspective, what is the high performance mindset?
Look, for me, the high performance mindset is always about moving forward. And it doesn't matter what you're doing in life. It's always about moving forward. I learned very early on that you cannot let your past anchor you, because it's just going to drag you back. And as we just said, I think the most important thing is always just to keep pushing forward. There's always going to be some sort of difficulty. It doesn't matter what it is, but push, move on, and I think you'll get far. I mean, it's helped me a lot. It took me a long time to realize it, by the way, but now I'm only single-minded about moving forward always.
You know, when you said moving forward, it reminded me of my younger brother, and I saw he was kind of fascinated with 50 Cent, but for a different reason. And I was like, what do you like about 50? And he said, I like that he stays relevant, and how even after he left the music, he continued, you know, killing it in the movie industry, you know, and as a businessman, he's also killing it.
Yeah.
It looks easy from the outside.
No, but the guy is incredible. He's a titan of business, this guy.
Yeah. And the whole idea of not being stuck with your previous achievements, you know, instead of him just sitting and be like, you know, I sold, you know, so-and-so million records, and just continue talking about the past, you know. But he doesn't need to talk about the past because he has so many new achievements, relevant, great achievements.
Absolutely. But look, all of these guys, imagine like another one which comes to mind is The Rock, right? Yeah. Dwayne Johnson. He could have just been wrestling his whole life, but he didn't. He pivoted. He did records, he's doing movies, he's doing all sorts of stuff. And I think that's the amazing thing about life, is that the people who pivot are always the most successful. They're not just staying in one thing. Because it's easy, to stay in one lane, right?
Yeah, it becomes your comfort zone.
Right. But again, pushing beyond that is so important in any industry or in anything to do with life. Whatever it is, pushing beyond your limits and beyond your comfort zone, physically or mentally, it will get you far in life.
Hey, physically, you're looking great.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying not to eat. That's the tough one when you're a chef as well.
No, I've been watching your videos, and you're looking closer to the guy who was in the kitchen when he was 15.
Man. Oh my God. Yeah, like a pencil. But yeah. But
James, thank you for today.
Thank you so much. And it's been a real honor to be here, and phenomenal. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Honor for me to have a Michelin chef on my show, finally. It was, of course, written, and now you've just blessed us.
Oh, no, but thank you so much, really. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And sometimes I need to come and have some of your food.
Anytime.